I'll do that. Welcome to the sixth episode of Gemcast Live. A different time this time because our writer has been having a very difficult work schedule, and we finally have some time where we can get this in here. Of course, anybody who doesn't make it will be able to see this on our YouTube channel. So, the more the merrier here, though, I suppose. And so, Battle Sloth has been waiting longer than anyone. He was actually one of the first people to submit a story. So, excited to finally have the stars align, and we'll be ready to go. It's kind of like a little different story than we've been reading. So, I'm excited. Whenever you're ready, we will go forth with this.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our next episode of Gemcast Live. This is the Crystalline Initiative, Chapter 12, which, by the way, it's always interesting when we get one that's like a later chapter in a story, so obviously things have progressed before this point, unless, your story is a complete collective of one-shots, which I don't think so. But anyway, here we go. Chapter 12, A Lance Corporal Punished. One of the many problems that the pilot simulator had was that, due to the simulated nature of the program, there's always a sense of disconnect. No matter how realistic a simulator is, you remember that it's not actually the real thing. As long as you remember that you're not actually piloting a mech in that moment, you won't necessarily feel the same fear and adrenaline that you would feel in the field. I tried to remember that as I bashed the virtual representation of Rahab's skull in, again and again. Oh yeah, and again. The mission ended, and I jumped out of the program. Emma was doing better than anticipated, but the simulator had another flaw. The opponents were way weaker than the real thing. Emma stretched as she reviewed the footage of our VR sortie. As I walked out over to the Major, I tapped next to her desk. I might spend some solo time in the simulator. I need to be ready. You've racked up 3 hours today already, and that's just what you remembered to log. Give it a rest, Beltran. You'll give yourself a bloody headache. I need to be ready for anything. What about the girls? Aren't they going to be prepared? Fuck knows. You're logging up a lot of solo time against Rahab. You got those dreams again, or something? I paused. Blood running cold. You got them too. So then why didn't... Our conversation was interrupted by Amy rushing into the office. He's hacked our bloody phones. Who? Detrius. He keeps calling my phone and I can't hang up. As if on cue, I got a call from my mother's phone number. Foolishly, I picked up. I was treated to the not-so-dulcet tones of Detrius's laughter. You're a fraud too, Puma One. You ain't shit without your mech, you punk-ass bitch. That's why you can't do nothing about it. Please hold. I gestured towards Silverback, but the Major shook her head. I tried to hang up, but the phone wouldn't let me. I picked back up again and racked my brains on what to do. Instantly, I heard Detrius again. Nah, bitch, you ain't putting Detrius on hold. I hear you, and I smell you, and it smells like bitch out here. The minute me and my others roll up, you're dead, you hear? You're dead. The others? Yeah, me, Che, Rahab, and I and The line went dead as Detrius's words were smothered. My blood temperature was now Antarctic. I looked around. Emma and Amy looked confused, and the Major's expression was carefully unreadable. The ultimate poker face. Emma was the first to break the silence. So, these monsters are actually working together? Provided that Detrius is reliable. But if so, this completely rewrites everything we know about Port Moonstone's monster problem, the Major replied. Someone or something's in charge. Someone is actually coordinating all of this. These aren't random like we used to think. And fucking Rahab's still out there. I spat more aggressively than planned. Everyone gave me an odd look. The Major nodded slowly. Right. Unfortunately, prior reports notwithstanding, based on this report, Rahab may still be out there in some way. Didn't take Destria's yapping to tell me. Beltran, I suggest you set your trap, preferably before you end up violating the official State Secrets Act. In terms of what this means for us, not a great deal changes. Amethyst, Emerald, I'll schedule you two for some high-priority training. I'll need to come up with some contingency plans and potentially interface with Canberra. Beltran, a word. I followed the Major, conflict bubbling under the surface. If there was the slightest chance that she knew about any of this. I was led to a small holding cell, heavily barred. The Major gestured to a seat, but I wasn't in the sitting mood. The Major shrugged. Look, I get that Rahab's a touchy subject. Touchy subject? Touchy subject is for a pending divorce or a fucking gambling debt. Jim Parks died fighting Rahab, and Canberra covered it up. That man died defending Port Moonstone, defending Stadler. And they want me to pretend that Jim Parks didn't exist. Beltran. And what about Sophie Kessler, huh? She was having those dreams too. And defense wants to sweep it all under the covers. Pretend it's all right. I know damn well what those reports say, Beltran. I'm the one who had to sign them all. Now I need you to be focused and sharp. If you're going to come in here and worry about them, about events that happened close to a decade ago, then I'll find another bloody pilot. I've already managed to replace one magical girl. Don't think I can't replace you. My jaw dropped, only now realizing how viciously I'd been outplayed. And for the first time in my life, the Major looked at me with sympathy. I hated it. She sighed. I can't forget either, Beltran. I saw the photos. But repeat after me. No chasing white whales. I can't promise that. If he's out there, I promise you will get your chance. Provided it's strategically advantageous. But your vengeance will not come at the expense of the broader goals of the initiative. You're not a teenager anymore. And you won't be a pilot without me. You will obey my orders, formal Lance Corporal Beltran. And as of right now, I want you off my base. As I breezed past Emma and Amy, I burned with rage, with humiliation, but I forced myself to stay calm. I still wasn't sure if I could trust the Major, but a reckoning was coming, and I would need to focus. First thing I did on my way home, I grabbed some paint and a roller from the local Bunnings. It was finally time to deal with that carnival mask. I changed it to some old clothes and began painting over the mask, looking to drown the bright colors under a sea of titanium white. But with every roll, I couldn't help but think of every way that Rahab had ruined my life. There was Jim Parks, aka Jumper 2, my squad mate, who died trying to lure Rahab away from the bridge, and taking that with him. Or so I thought. So the reports had officially stated. There was Sophie Kessler, my squad mate up in Darwin, whose diary had revealed dream threats from Rahab before I found her dead. Eyes plucked from the corpse. And sure, I might have wanted to leave the army early, but I'd always imagined doing so on my own terms. Not being granted early discharge in exchange for silence regarding everything I'd seen and done. I sighed as I applied more coats. The colors of the mask were beginning to disappear, and the adrenaline was wearing off. I leaned back, considered my handiwork, and the words from the briefing. Maybe the Major was right. Maybe I hadn't escaped my consequences as well as I'd thought. But this war was different. The psychic war, where even my mind and my dreams could be the new battlefield. But what weapons did I have to fight it? My phone rang, and I picked it up. All right, Detrius, you want to trade barbs again? Here goes, you whiny ass. It's me, Amy. I just wanted to see that you were okay. I bit my tongue. Fuck. Sorry for everything. For losing my, whatever. You left in a hurry, and I just wanted to make sure that you were okay. I mean, you looked after me when I lost my temper with the Major. And I figured you should at least try to do something. Is there anything I can do to help you? I put the roller down, leaned against my door. Honestly, I don't know. Look, the Major's been very clear. I legally can't talk about a lot of stuff regarding the old days, or the Army. I wouldn't be surprised if this call was being recorded. I'm guessing you've worked out that Rahab's the kind of personal for me. But I can't tell you anything more, Amy. I mean, Iron Mask was a bit personal to me too. He was the one we couldn't bring in, and it sucked. But I guess for you, this is a whole nother level. Yeah, you could say that. The sky was changing color now, entering the golden hour. I pursed my lips as I looked, lost in the colors. That was one of the redeeming features of Port Moonstone, I guess. The beauty of the sky above the waterfront. I shrugged as I cleaned up the paint. Look, if the Major's asked you to contact me, tell her, the Major didn't ask me or tell me anything. Nor did Emma. I'm just worried. I mean, on my first day, you saved me from making the worst mistake of my life. Let me return the favor. And I'm sorry if I sound selfish, Elias. I need to be the Crystal Guardian. I need to be a heroine that can help people. And like you said, you're the fuel for my transformation now, so I need you to be emotionally okay if we're going to be working together, because this relationship, I mean, our working relationship, I don't want to give you the wrong idea, but I nodded. I get what you're trying to say, and I'm genuinely grateful for what you're trying to do here. Do you still hate me? I kept looking out at that golden sky. As the color began to change from gold to an almost pink color. Maybe I was pushing my luck, but I didn't really have anybody I could be open with about this sort of thing, and I never realized how much I craved it. Her voice came through as a relief. I mean, I don't think so. I wouldn't go so far as to call us friends, but we're partners, I guess. I think that means something, at least. She didn't hate me outright, at least, which was comforting. But I still needed to know where we exactly stood. Tell me something, Amy. Do you believe me now when I tell you that I've changed? Another pause. Maybe I'd pushed too far. Me and my big mouth. How many times my mouth and my dumb decisions got me into trouble over the years. Now Amy sounded uncertain. I don't know, Elias. Like I said before, this job, I only know you as a voice on the radio, and we went to different schools anyway. Any information I had about you came through Emma. So it's not that I don't think you haven't changed, it's more that I didn't know who you really were back then to begin with. That's not a question I can really answer for you. The silence hung over us like a bomb about to drop. I got up, stretched a little bit. I mean, it's not the answer that I was hoping to hear, but it's a fair one. And maybe I have a bit of a better idea where we stand with each other. Be seeing you, Amy. I hung up, dumped what remained of the paint, cleaned off the roller, and went inside. I checked the news sites and the blog sphere. The blogs were talking about us, just a little bit. And we even had an advertisement for the magical toy girl toys. I snorted. Why the algorithms thought I'd be in the market, be the target market for me would be just beyond me. I grabbed some Japanese takeout from a joint near me. Pork yakisoba noodles. Bringing up Spotify, I knew that I needed some music to clear my head. But what to pick? The curse of infinite choice was my biggest problem. With a lot of modern music, and not helping was the fact that none of the music I usually listen to would have the desired effect. Eventually I settled in explosions in the sky. Something simple, without any vocals to worry about it. But the instrumentals didn't clear my head at all. They just got me thinking. I knew I was in dangerous waters all around. I needed a way of getting back good with that major, and fast. By whatever means necessary. But could I even do that at this point? And then there was Amy. Look, I genuinely liked talking to Amy, which was something that surprised me. I guess I liked having someone I could be honest with. I had no idea what had happened to the rest of the Stadler's initiative. As far as anyone was concerned, I was the last of the group. Until that conversation with Amy, I never realized just how much I needed someone who could understand what I'd been through. I'm sure there was the Major, but she obviously wasn't much of a conversationalist. And maybe I couldn't fill Amy in on everything, but I missed the Stadler lads, and I needed camaraderie. Outside I could hear spraying noises, but this time I wasn't going to engage. I turned my headphones up and tried not to think about the argument I was about to have with the body corporate. End of chapter. Are you saying that you guys lost audio? I still have my audio up. Are you guys saying you lost audio? Hey, Aiden, maybe I'm starting to wonder if maybe adding people during. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, so I'm starting to wonder if maybe adding people to the speakers room is what's causing that. I mean, I'm looking back at like the yeah. So I think what happened, guys, is that going forward, we're not going to add speakers during readings because I think that's what's causing that issue. So we'll try to have everyone that's going to be a speaker in there at that point in time. Thankfully, it doesn't actually cause an issue during the actual recording of it. But yeah, Aiden, can you hear us?
Yeah, I could have heard you guys. You guys could hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now. So yeah, I think what's causing that is that for some reason in a recent Discord update of some kind, when you're adding speakers while there's already a speaker in place, I think it's messing with the audio circuit. Because I noticed that like around the time you mentioned that, hey, we lost audio, Sloth got added as a speaker. So I'm thinking that's what
Okay,
caused it.
that makes sense. So maybe next time we do this, we'll try to make sure we put the author on. in the beginning, and we'll just everybody's been muting pretty well. So yeah, we collectively lost that section. So I guess if we could, it was just the last. I think from I knew I was in dangerous waters all around,
Sure.
and somewhere in that paragraph we got cut off.
Sure, I'll start the paragraph over then if you guys don't mind. I mean, it's going to be fine on the recording regardless, but it'll be just fun to get it back in there again.
Okay, great.
Yeah. I knew I was in dangerous waters all around. I needed a way of getting back good with the Major, and fast. By whatever means necessary. But could I even do that at this point? And then there was Amy. Look, I genuinely liked talking to Amy, which was something that had surprised me. I guess I liked having someone I could be honest with. I had no idea what had happened to the rest of the Stodlier Initiative. As far as anyone was concerned, I was the last of that group. Until that conversation with Amy, I never realized just how much I needed someone who could understand what I'd been through. Sure, there was the Major, but she obviously wasn't much of a conversationalist. And maybe I couldn't fill Amy in on everything. But I missed the Stodlier lads, and I needed camaraderie. Outside I could hear the spraying noises. But this time, I wasn't going to engage. I just turned my headphones up and tried not to think about the argument I was about to have with the body corporate. End of chapter.
All right, man. Thanks for like sticking with that, Jack. Like, and coming in this morning, like what was it, like six something, like seven something, where when we started, that's pretty awesome. Thanks a lot, man. And what a wonderful chapter, Battle Sloth.
No, seriously.
Thank you.
No, so this is obviously like a mech war corporate thing. So I mean, give us some background on this. For those of us who aren't too familiar with mech wars.
All right. So, yeah, basically, this novel is actually a sort of a fusion of the sort of magical girl genre and mecha genre. So, yeah. So Elias here, he's our mech pilot. For pretty much used to be legendary mech pilot when he was a teenager. Then he grew up. Monsters went away from it. Got pretty much dragged into the army. He left the army, and now he is back being a mech pilot in a giant gorilla mech.
Wait, in a giant gorilla mech? Okay, so this is kind of like Zoids almost then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of my big things about mecha is a lot of the mechas tends to be humanoid, and like Zoids did the whole animal mecha concept really well, and I'm like, why is nobody else doing mecha? We're missing out on opportunities here.
I understand, I understand. Yeah, because it is one of those genres that, in a lot of ways, for some reason, you're right. It's popular with kids. We have Zoids, we have Power Rangers, like Tyrannoid Lord is talking about, and we have, other things like that. We have, Transformers, which are all somehow categorized and like time locked for only kids. And yet in Japanese media, you have Gundam, you have Big O, you have I want to say Saint Seiya, but that's not quite the same. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's more opportunities in them, and yet at the same time, you're right. They're great childhood toys, but they're just not getting the love in adult scenarios. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of Western media is really sleeping on mecha and the sort of dramatic potential. And yeah, so basically, this is what happened. So both Amy and Elias, they pretty much used to be your fairly typical anime protagonists when they were teenagers. Amy was a magical girl in the vein of Sailor Moon. Elias was mech pilot in the vein of something like Amuro Ray from Gundam, or maybe Shinji from Evangelion. Tyranid Lord mentioned now, and then they've grown up. They're monsters went away for a bit. Things got really quiet. They were pretty much dragged down to normal people for a bit. And basically, I wanted to tell the story like, okay, you've been through this great adventure. You've been through the anime. What do you do now? And then basically tell the story of how those people go from pretty much thrown on the scrap heap to back to being heroes.
Okay, so that's pretty interesting because I have noticed this theme of the story post the story. You know what I'm saying? Where that's the, like Tyranid Lord, with his story we read recently. That was the theme of that story. It was the journey after the journey, and then obviously that kind of in anime to me it became kind of I became aware of that in anime from this past year from the story Free Run, which I mentioned before on here. So it's kind of cool how that started to become like a thing, like a trope of storytelling is the story after the story. Fair?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I haven't seen Frieren yet myself. My to watch anime list is very, very, very long, but yeah, definitely. But definitely, it is becoming a thing, and yeah. Let's see. Tyrannid Lord has a question. What sort of themes are you aiming to have essential ones throughout the story? That is a good question. That is a very good question. Basically, I'm looking. I guess my big theme I'm looking at is probably second chances. Like, okay, it's like what I said before. Okay, you've had your big adventure, but maybe you didn't wrap it up quite as well as you thought. Maybe the story isn't quite as over as you thought it was, and now you've got to stand up, say, "Okay, I used to be the hero, and I've not done this for a while. Do I still got it?"
That's cool. That's cool. What inspired you to get to this to get to this story to write that? Do you start with a question, or do you start with a theme, or do you have a character in mind when you start a process like this?
Sir, sir, I was actually reading through TV tropes, and I found that and I was looking through the recommendations, and they have a big thing about the pitfalls. Is that whole trope of the whole "I just want to be normal" thing, and there's a and like don't do it. It's a cliche, and I'm like, okay, let's look at this cliche. Eh, let's and then I realized actually, yeah, in a lot of magical girl media, there is that moment where they just want to be normal, and I'm like, well, hang on, if you're normal, you still live in that world of monsters. You just don't have powers to defend yourself. You're making the wrong moves here. And then I got thinking about that even more, and I'm like, actually, come to think of it, yeah, it's pretty exciting, and there's a lot of people who like that escapism, and you're telling people, oh no, I don't want to have superpowers and make friends and stuff. And I'm like, okay, let's make the opposite. Let's take somebody who had that and had that taken away from them, and then what story do you tell from there?
All right, Aiden, you can read this question for us. All right, I'll, re-
Sure.
I'll read it for us instead.
No, I got it.
Okay, cool.
Are you concerned with your story being anachronistic with things like mechs and magical girls mixing with real life things like Spotify and presumably the song you mentioned in the chapter? He goes on to say, I for once found it slightly jarring to be hot suddenly with real world IP after going through a chapter of military drama with cyberpunk hackers and magical girl soldiers.
Honestly, I don't really. I mean, I don't really feel that the anachronisms there. I'm just not. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. It's. I mean, to me, I wanted to tell it so like, okay, yes, we have the magical girls. Yes, we have the magical girl, the mecha, and we also have our world that we live in today. So, um, yeah, I just didn't see the anachronistic stuff.
That's kind of where I was leaning to. One thing I liked that I thought was interesting was you begin in like a simulation of combat, and like you described that
Mm,
like the protagonist's emotions are not where they would be if it wasn't a real combat situation. So you have like this repressed emotion due to circumstance of a combat setting to begin, and then by the end of the chapter, you have a non-combat setting, obviously, but the emotions are heightened because of what's taken place. So it's kind of like a play on. It's kind of like on the situations like whereas if it was like a normal combat situation, obviously he would be like fully excited and ready to go. And yeah, I thought that was interesting. I wanted to ask you, of all your chapters, why did you pick this one, and what were you hoping to display during the reading?
Honestly, why this one? That is a good question. I decided not to go with the first one because I felt that one was a little bit short. Yeah, chapter 12. What was I looking to display? Guess I just wanted to. I'm not 100% sure. You may have to. I might circle back later.
You're okay. We're just trying to understand. When you pick a chapter,
Yeah.
when you pick a
Mm,
later chapter beyond the first one, the first one's
mm,
obviously always a great opportunity to kind of introduce us to your story, introduce us to your world. For instance, you're talking about things like the iron mask or the mask on the side of the mech that's being painted over, which I'm guessing is perhaps
mm.
symbolic of some type of like personality change or him trying to bury some repressed emotions that are just left there. But I don't know what that means for and so if you want to give us some
Okay.
background on that, yeah.
Yeah, so Iron Mask is one of the other villains of the piece. I've got four main villains so far. I've got Detritus, who's my big trash monster, also trash talker. He's the guy who did the phone hacking. He's able to do this because he's literally made of garbage. I've got Shay Saguaro, my giant cactus monster who thinks he's a king and a communist revolutionary and understands neither of those concepts. Um, got Rahab, who's my big fish monster. We find out a bit more about him later on. Without Can't give away too much just because spoilers. Iron Mask is a Iron Mask is a really interesting one because I wanted to do something like, okay, we've had a villain from the okay, obviously we've got the heroes coming back. What about the villains? So Iron Mask is a really fun one. She's a very fun character, and if I do a sequel, we're going to find out a lot more about her.
Okay. Um, yeah. So what would you say is the actual like? We're talking about like things like Spotify or the
Mm.
the mentions of yakisoba noodles, but also the entrance of magical girls and mechs. Do you have like an idea of like when you would put this on like in comparison to our current timeline? When would you put this story at?
That is that's a good question. I'd say it feels like late 2010s, sort of maybe the 2020s. I wanted to give it like I think yeah, I didn't want to sort of tie it to a specific time period. And to be fair, I probably didn't do that well at it, but yeah, I just wanted to feel a sort of contemporary. Yeah.
All right. Do we have any other questions, Aiden?
Not for me. I'm gonna see if our audience has anything else. I just wanted to say, like, I enjoyed the chapter. I thought the dialogue was good. It's obviously you've done your research with the military terminology, but also like I had, it felt like it was two different characters. Like, when you were the major was talking, that were coming from their own perspectives. It wasn't like, like the same. Sometimes like when you read people's dialogues, they kind of like sounds like the writer writing, the same for everybody. Like no, I thought they felt distinct. Um, Let's see if we have any other questions. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you for reading, Jack. Thank you for the chapter, Battle Sloth. It was enjoyable for our, first breakfast edition of the Gemcast.
No worries, and thank you guys for going out of your way and getting this read.
There you go, Tyrannid Lord saying, and coming from someone who's been in the Aussie Army the past decade plus, it was pretty good and believable. So, like, yeah, there you go. As far as the realistic component.
Shout out to Tyranid Lord. Yeah, my mum was in the reserves for quite a while, so I did pick up a couple of things.
Jack, anything from you before we close?
I don't think so. I think that we've covered what we need to cover, and thank you all for coming into our breakfast edition of the Gemcast.
All right, so the next one will probably be, I'm guessing, a week from Monday. So we're gonna have like some time with that right now. The list continues. Again, anyone who wants to have a chapter of theirs read, feel free to DM it to me in Google Docs format. Thank you everybody for coming to Gemcast Live number 6, and hopefully you guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you all.
No worries. Thank you very much.